Jarvis Green has foot surgery. How has this impacted Clemson's running back room? We'll talk about it right here on Locked on Clemson.
You are Locked on Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked on Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked on Clemson your first listen today. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. I promise you, you will not regret it. And if you're an everydayer, thank you so much for returning back in. You know how we do it here. Every weekday, Monday through Friday, all Clemson content, all you want for sure. Thank you again for being part of the show. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. Fall camp is continuing to roll on, and some big updates throughout camp. As we hear them, we will bring them to you and give you my thoughts on it as well. Starting off with the running back room, Jarvis Green, a guy who we really haven't seen a ton of, had 9 carries last season for 53 yards. I would say that's not really a significant amount of playing time at all. A guy that from Dutch Fork and in-state guy that I really stumped for during the recruiting process. I went on the radio on Mickey Plyler's show and said that I think CJ Spiller should go after him. The fans wanted it. I wanted it. And finally, a few days later, it happened. And he was committed and recruited and committed to Clemson. Since then, though, we really haven't seen much of him at all. And now we're going to have to wait even longer because he is out for likely most of the 2025 football season due to foot surgery. We didn't hear exactly, the ins and outs of why he needed the surgery, but it's significant enough to where he won't be able to return immediately back to the program. So Dabo mentioned that it could be later on at the end of the season that we might see him, but to be able to play a significant amount of snaps is probably not a strong outlook for him. So you add him to the injury report as one of the first significant injury for Clemson out of fall camp. And then Jay Haynes is the other running back that is returning from injury that we don't expect to see early on, but he would also be a mid to late season kind of bloomer to get back to where he was from 2024 with 43 carries, 295 yards. So he was getting a little bit more rotation than the other guys. So he was number 2. Well, really number 2 running back was Cade Klubnik. So you had Phil Maffa at 216, Cade Klubnik at 119, and then Jay Haynes at 43, Keith Adams Jr. at 30. You can tell huge drop off there. 200 for Phil Maffa, 100 for Cade Klubnik, and then like 70 for the rest, or maybe 100 for the rest. So total 473 rushing yards for the team, or not rushing yards, rushing carries for the team. How will this impact the running back order for 2025? This injury is not going to impact the 2025 order at all. You've got still, in my opinion, number 1, Adam Randall. Now, Dabo hasn't said in order, but he keeps saying it in this order. He hasn't said it's the order, but he keeps listing them in this order. So I'm going with this order. Adam Randall, number 1. David Eziomume, number 2. Gideon Davidson, number 3. And right now, Keith Adams Jr., number 4. So that's, to me, the rotation that you'll get. Your main running back is Adam Randall. And I tell you, I was a believer when I saw him. When you look at the film, when you look at what he's done from fall camp, if you see some of the videos that were posted out there, he looks like he knows what he's doing. Those who say he's just a wide receiver and you're trying to make this up and manufacture this, I can understand where you're coming from. And I admire your lack of education on this, because really what we've seen is that is not the case. He is fully bought in. He's a football player, true, and he understands what is needed of him. And he's, been with the program for so long that it's not hard for him to move where he needs to. The biggest thing is that he couldn't get an open space or find open space as a wide receiver on the outside. So they had to find a way to get him the ball or get him into open space that wasn't that, because that wasn't working. They tried it over and over and over until finally I don't know if it was Dabo or one of the coaches said, hey, what do you think about this? We know you have talent. We know you have a skill set, but where we're trying to put you is just not working at the college level. When you see his film from high school, he was a legit threat at Myrtle Beach. I mean, the guy is a good football player. It's just, where do they put him, right? Now he's 237, 6'2". Can he get 15 carries per game? Whew, that's pushing it for me, because that would be 150 out of 10 games, add 2, what's that, 30, so 180. To me, I don't see 15 carries per game. I know somebody, I think it was on Clemson Wire, somebody came out and said he gets 70 carries per game. I feel like he'll probably get more than 70 carries per game. Or not per game, but excuse me, during the season, 70 carries. If you think about 70 carries, well, that was Jay Haynes and Keith Adams together. So that's kind of the last option rotation of the guys that got that 70, but that is their combined. Now, if you, let's say you run for 500, let's say you go 500 carries. Well, Cade's going to get, at least 100 of that. So you only have 400 to split between your other 4 guys. Well, you're not going to split it out 400 exactly. I do believe that when you look at Gideon Davidson, if we truly believe he's as talented as, say, Wayne Gallman or Travis Etienne, then you probably want to give him 150 carries. So he's got 150. That brings you down to what? 250 left. So Cade, let's just make it a little bit easier on my math here. So Cade gets 150. Gideon Davidson gets 150. That's 300 right there. All you have left is 150. So you probably give 100. If you give 150 to Adam Randall, well, then you have nothing else left over. Well, you probably think Cade Klubnik's not going to get 150 if he had about 120 last season. So give 30 to Eziomume, give 20 to Eziomume from Gideon Davidson. So maybe you've got like 120 for Adam Randall. Maybe you got 100 for Eziomume, 150 for Gideon Davidson, and then the rest goes to Cade Klubnik. Maybe that's how it shakes out. I mean, you're still going to have some sprinkled in guys that are, random touches that you're going to get from wide receivers or from your walk-on like a Peyton Strecco. So that's not an exact math, as you could probably tell. It was really off the dome there, which probably not very smart for me to do. But at the end of the day, do I think he's going to get 150 or 15 carries, 180 carries in a season? Probably not. I think it's going to be Adam Randall to start, and then he'll probably, my assumption is that Gideon Davidson is going to get more and more of that share as he gets more, or as the coaching staff trusts him more in that spot. But I do think that Adam Randall is your starting guy. Eziomume is your change of pace. Gideon Davidson's your home run hitter. And then Keith Adams Jr., to me, I know that they say they want to use him, and they talk about him being a hammerhead, but what we noticed was even in the short yardage situations, it was all Phil Maffa. So there's no example of me to have any trust that CJ Spiller or Dabo Swinney is going to actually use him in a situational role outside of just rotating. That's how I think it's going to shake out for Adam Randall, for the rest of the running back group. Is it bad that Jarvis Green is injured? Yes, that kind of takes away from it. But to me, the 4 guys that he has listed out, I really lean on more to be those 3 guys. Add in Cade Klubnik as your 4th guy in your rotation. All right, coming up next, the Tigers spent a lot of work on goal line reps. I'll tell you what I think about it and what were some of the things I circled from it. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. It's easy to use, you get fast payouts, and it makes even regular season games feel a little bit more interesting. Maybe even you get the same game parlay in there and you can watch it and ride it out through the whole game. Makes it a must watch event for you. Find FanDuel on FanDuel.com. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Clemson really focused on goal line and on the offense and defense and on short yardage situations earlier this week. And what we noticed is it's really kind of just getting to those unique situations that you're going to have regularly and getting the reps in early to see who has been putting in the most work in the offseason. When you get into these short yardage situations, a lot of the mistakes can be amplified, and a lot of your off-season workouts and strength and conditioning can be shown very easily when you have these situations that are kind of fighting each other. You can't use the field to your advantage. You can't just get open and use skill or speed to your advantage. It has to be more skill in short spaces. So can you leverage? Can you beat someone one-on-one as your wide receiver? Can you beat someone one-on-one at the line of scrimmage? Are you really putting in the work in the weight room to get that leverage going? And that's what these goal line packages are kind of to start everything out, to see kind of a fit check of where everybody's at, and also kind of a fit check to see, or a check to see where you're at in a one-on-one scenario. One thing that kind of jumped out to me is that Clemson actually does have two defensive ends. I know you've told me that you're a little bit concerned about the depth of defensive end. We have Will Help. Clemson has Will Help. I say we as a fan, but Clemson has Will Help. Clemson has TJ Parker. Those are two guys that you would assume would be your starters that you really are pretty confident in, to be honest with you. So outside of that, that was the big question mark is, man, what happens when those guys need a breather, when they need to go get some water? The goal line is going to be a problem if those guys aren't on the edge. And I can understand that, and I agree with that. One thing that we have been seeing progress over the past couple of years is Jaheim Lawson. He came in, and I really feel like he was just there because of the name, there because of the pipeline with Daniel, there because he had potential, but he was a long way away. Well, he checked in at like 261. That's exactly where you want him to be, with TJ Parker like 265. Will Help, I think 260. You look back at like a Cleveland Furl, 265. So he's at the weight finally that you would want for a guy. And to be honest with you, Lawson got better and better as the season went on. He was not one of those guys that frustrated me the most at the defensive end position opposite of TJ Parker. I don't want to call him out, but I'm going to say it. It was the graduate in Cade Denhoff that you didn't really want out there, because it seemed as if the offense would target him specifically and strategically and just run straight to his side. And there was not much he could do about it leverage-wise. So can Clemson improve? Yes, they've got Will Help there from the starting lineup, but from the guys after that, Jaheim Lawson is a guy that I think that we don't want to just overlook. He's doing the things that he needs to do to be in the rotation and earn the reps. And he's finally at a weight that you can trust at that position to hold his own and set the edge there for the Tigers. So they've got to rotate. It's a long season. I can understand being nervous behind the two stars after that, but I feel a little bit more comfortable seeing Lawson, seeing the pounds that he's put on, and it's good weight too. Another guy that we talked about late last season, but we still have yet to see, is a guy that has the same attributes that I bragged about Ian Schieffelin on, and that is height. 6'7", 6'8", depending on who you talk to, in Darien Mayo. I know he's continued to add some weight on. He's going to get better and better. He looks like a freak athlete out there, as tall as he is. And sometimes that does wonders when you get into a situation of goal line where you need to make a short pass. You got a guy on the edge that's 6'7", that has a huge wingspan. That's what I'd like to have, to be able to stop those quick passes to the edge, to the outside, and across the middle. And also kind of block a field goal here and there if he could get into that opportunity as well. Height could be a big thing, not just for the defensive end position in Darien Mayo, but in short yardage situations with Ian Schieffelin. You know, I kind of am walking it back over this past week. Am I not? Last week I was saying, oh, Ian Schieffelin, you're not going to see much of him. He's just a basketball player. He's just pretending. And the more I see him and how he has added weight, he is thicker than he was playing on the basketball court. I can guarantee you that. But he didn't get shorter, even though I guess technically you're going to make fun of me and saying he didn't get shorter, because technically he did on paper. They said he was 6'8". Now he's 6'7". I get it. He got shorter. He got bigger. He's becoming a stump. Okay. He's becoming a stump. No, he's not. He's still 6'7". So while you have a 6'7" guy on the edge, you also have a 6'7" guy at tight end. And I'm starting to love this jump ball being a priority. And I believe it was John in the chat that mentioned Tristan Smith being another tall jump ball type guy as well. These guys have that ability. But one thing that Ian Schieffelin has, and it's not from the football field, but from the basketball field or court, is that he has that confidence. I mean, this guy went up against the best of the best in the country at the basketball level and in the ACC, and regularly out-rebounded them single-handedly and was the machine for Clemson, even when he was out-leveraged, which was rare, but even when he was out-leveraged. And when he was drenched in sweat at the end of a game, he's still going hard on the boards. That's the kind of guy that can get you through all season. That's the kind of guy that can fight through having to put on pads now and figure that out and keep grinding through. So what if I told you that the more I think about it, the more I see them in action, the more I feel like you're going to see a lot of Darien Mayo and Ian Schieffelin in 2025. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but you do have to rotate. I still lean on the fact you're going to have TJ Parker, you're going to have Will Helt as your 1-2. But when you get in a goal line situation, that's where you might throw out another tight end. That's where you might throw out another defensive end to kind of stop certain attacks from the offense or alignment from the defense. Even the LSU fans that get in the chat, they have mentioned the matchup with Ian Schieffelin is not going to be an easy one. They've also reminded me that they have Jarvis Green, who is also a football turned basketball turned football player at LSU, and he's 6'7". So both teams have basketball player tight ends that we're going to see who can maybe shine more than the other. And maybe the first game of the season is too much to put on them, even though I am kind of worried about Jarvis Green. But Ian Schieffelin, speaking of him specifically, maybe the first game is putting too much on him for that kind of expectation. But Dabo told us that there was a big play where he won a jump ball and the entire team erupted. And I got to tell you, I don't think that that's just jokes or coincidence. I mean, I'm starting to become a chef believer. Get me my chef hat because I'm going to wear it. I don't know if they'll let me wear a chef hat in the press box, but I'm starting to believe in this combination of 6'7" guys on offense and defense in goal line packages. that's what you like about these situations, because you can really see who, even outside of the guys that you thought would be shining through, you can see some of these, second string, third string guys that you might ignore shine in these short yardage situations. That's what I love about it. Obviously, Dabo Swinney does it because you're going to get a ton of short yardage situations during the season, so you got to be ready for it. But to me, give me Darien Mayo and his wingspan in point after attempt blocks and field goal blocks. Hey, he even mentioned Ian Schieffelin in that scenario too. If you got 2 6'7" guys that can get up, man, that's going to be not only stressful for the special teams, but that'll be stressful for those quick slants, because all you got to do is get a paw up there and you'll be able to bat down that ball. All right, finishing up the show, I'm going to talk to you about the nickel position and the depth there and what the outlook we feel like could happen for 2025. With Khalil Barnes resting, they said he was nursing an injury. We assume Khalil Barnes will be your starting nickel guy. I think after that, who will be next up or who will be in that rotation? Because again, you've got to have that rotational. You have to have rotations for a long season like this. What we're hearing is that backup Ronan Hanafin, another wide receiver, he was a wide receiver turned nickel / safety, which he played both in high school. So it's really not that bad for him. He was technically an athlete because he played both, and they tried him out at wide receiver. That's where he originally wanted to give a shot at it and didn't work out. So now he's on the defense and he's perfectly fine with that. But this is a rugby / lacrosse player from the Northeast that's scrappy. So I like him on defense as well. But Ronan Hanafin has been out taking first team looks at nickel, first team looks at safety. He could be in the rotation in there with Kylan Griffin, and Ricardo Jones at the safety position. Obviously could be in the rotation with Khalil Barnes. So that's an interesting note for me. Another thing is Shelton Lewis. They really haven't told us who this Tiger role is. Kind of like Perkins is the star position. That's more of your traditional outside linebacker. The Tiger position for Clemson is going to be more of your Isaiah Simmons type in my mind, where you really can do everything. You can come over and you can be a slot cornerback. You can go back and be a nickelback. You can come in and be an outside linebacker blitzing. You can even move to a safety position depending on the role. You're going to be very versatile. All signs that I'm hearing about that position and that type of role is right now under Shelton Lewis. So to me, he's trending towards that kind of Swiss Army knife that can do a little bit of all of it. But when you tell me Khalil Barnes is in that rotation too, and Ronan Hanafin's in that rotation, I'm not really upset about it. I think that's a lot of athleticism and guys that you can trust to play the field, to adjust during tempo phases of the game, to play the boundary outside if they need to slide over or to play deep at safety. All three of those guys are guys that I feel like will have a significant role in 2025 and could match up well against the majority of teams in the country. Now, the problem, one of the biggest concerns with LSU, and LSU fans have reminded me of this, is that I wouldn't say that Lewis, Barnes, and Hanafin are some elite level speed guys. Are they trustworthy guys that can play multiple positions, that are going to stick to their assignments, that are going to be scrappy and play straight up and frustrate the opponent in front of them? Yes. Are they going to get tricked by offensive scheming as much? No, I don't think so. I can trust those guys coverage-wise. I can trust those guys man up to an extent, because LSU has a lot of speed at the wide receiver position, and they have extreme height in the basketball player, Jarvis Green, at tight end. So I do believe that LSU could hurt Clemson with their speed. Now, the thing is their wide receivers have not been really successful consistently. They'll say that they're talented. That is true. They'll say they're speedsters. That is true. But when you look at their stat sheet, when you look at what they brought to their teams, when you look at how they did in their conferences from wherever they came from, they kind of lagged behind, or they really weren't on the blip or on the radar. So while they are uniquely talented individuals, and yes, definitely fast wide receivers, I don't know how significant that is going to play a factor unless they're matched up in a huge mismatch of speed. If you don't bracket properly or play your assignment properly with these guys like Barnes and Hanafin and Lewis, I do believe that LSU could kill Clemson with speed. So going into 2025, going into week 1, we're just, 23 days to go. That is something that concerns me. You have to be aware as a Clemson fan that these guys are fast. Now, if they come out and they burn and torch the defense with speed, I know you're going to leave mad and upset, but at least my everydayers that are still with me, at least you can walk away knowing that we told you here. I told you it could happen. I gave you the big warning sign up. So that's kind of where I feel about it. But it's we're seeing some areas shape up. The running back room is shaping up. The rotation there, the defensive ends are shaping up. Ian Schiffelin's actual role in this team is starting to kind of, see a little bit more of that. And then now the nickel safety combo of players that they have is also kind of showing who those lead players are as well. All right. Hey, I appreciate everyone being a part of the show. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. My friend Brian Smith over on the Portal Show, he gives you all the latest stuff about the portal entries and new signings and anything that you need to stay up to date on the transfer portal. You can over at the Portal Show. Make it your second listen of the day, and also watch it on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey, thank you so much again. Hopefully you've enjoyed the shows as we've continued to get through, getting closer to the start of the season. And for my everydayers here on the housekeeping segment at the end of the show, hopefully the audio is getting much better for you as I've reset and restarted and plugged and unplugged every single thing possible. But thank you so much for bearing with me those couple of episodes that were going in and out. We really appreciate it. And as always, Tiger fans, hey, we'll see you at the top of the hill.